Hello, everyone. Welcome, Pretty Sisters, to the Pretty Sister Podcast. Today, we are on part 4 of our 6-part series, our Pretty Sister Heart Makeover with Coach Johnny Covey. And he will be joining us in just a moment. So as we wait for him to jump on, I am going to introduce you to my sister, my very pretty sister, Martha Montagnoli, who is here today to do a brave thing, to do this live coaching online for you with Johnny Covey. For you to feel loved, supported, welcomed, a place where you belong with us, with fellow pretty sisters, where you know how beautiful you are, how wonderful you are, how worthy you are of all of your dreams and all the things that you're choosing to do in your life. We want to help you with that. We want to encourage you and cheer you on and make sure that you feel that you are supported. So this is one of the ways that we're doing that to help you feel supported, is bringing you Coach Johnny Covey, who is amazing at what he does, and he helps people to go from their head to their heart, where they are unstuck and unblocked, letting go of feelings of fear, discouragement, anything that might be going on in your life that holds you back, learning how to recognize those emotions that keep you there and get out of your head and into your heart, where you're moving forward with purpose and passion. That's the place where you feel your best, where you feel like, okay, I'm excited, I can do this. And I know you've probably all experienced those two different extremes of feelings, and we all do. And what's been amazing as I've been the host during this series with Johnny is each time we have somebody come on to go through this experience, they sit and they share what's going on in their life. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, I felt that too. That's amazing. I've had those same thoughts and feelings at some time in my life. And that is why we're talking about this and doing it live for you, is because my thought is, if I felt these things too, then probably somebody out there listening, whether you're listening live or you're listening in the future, has probably also had some of these similar feelings and needed somebody like a great coach like Johnny Covey to help guide you through how to get out of that position and into that right place of moving forward. And not just with one in particular experience, but we want you to learn how to do this yourself. This is for you to become a coach of yourself and know this pattern, this format that he has, so that you can mentor yourself through any of those tough emotions that come up, which is so normal, guys. You're very perfectly you with all of your feelings and thoughts and emotions, and that's what Johnny teaches. So I'm going to turn the time over to Johnny for a few minutes to add whatever he wants to add to that teaching and learning and summarizing your process. Hopefully you've heard this before, and this is just a review for you.
Just to summarize before we hop in and go through the process. Every time I explain it, I'm going to try to explain it a little different. I'm just really coming from it from whatever perspective comes out of me. So hopefully, as you watch some of these, you can start to just see the pattern of this is the overall process, and then we implement it together. So in our head, we protect. In our heart, we progress. It's time to progress. Now, our head's not bad. We need our head to protect us, and we need our heart to progress us. The key to this whole process is to align with our conscience. Our conscience is not only our light, it's our compass. It's what heals us mentally, emotionally, spiritually. All those things happen, the alignment, progression, when we are in our hearts. Now, if there is danger, we want our head to protect us, to save our life, to make sure we don't die. So we need our head. It's awesome. They both send messages. The messages allow us to choose what path to go. Protect yourself. Or other sometimes it's protect yourself even mentally, emotionally, like, hey, change your thinking. This is unhealthy. The painful feeling when we're in our head is telling us change what you're thinking. Or in our heart, the feeling is telling us that peaceful or wonderful, whatever feeling it is telling us, hey, progress. This is for you. Have courage. Have the faith to move forward on this. This is good for you. Healthy. So our 5 senses do the same thing. They protect us. Hey, take a taste of something. This is bad. Don't do it. Or like, did I say that correctly? Yeah, they protect us, or they progress us. Here, I'm like, did I just flip those? Because I started thinking the next one. Or they progress us, saying, hey, this is okay. This hug feels good. Feels right. All 5 senses. So whatever you're experiencing, I'd like you to consider that even if you are very aligned with your conscience, you're great at going from your head to your heart, all that stuff. But what if there's another level of recognizing and realizing this is what my conscience is telling me, and to choose something different. And if I've had a lifetime of experience where it's been off a little bit or a lot, most of us, it's been a lot. It's far where we misunderstand it so much that when a painful experience happens, we think I must be broken or the world hates me or I'm not enough. Versus when something happens, that painful message is actually saying, hey, don't have this thought. It's unhealthy. You are of such worth that this is not a good experience. No different than if I touched my hand on the stone, I burn myself. I say, stove hot, don't do it. My body's valuable, protect it. Versus saying, oh, something's wrong with me. The stove must hate me. So if we make that shift, that our whole life, we see it from a different perspective, and we're able to say, hey, I'm of value. I'm of worth. Every painful experience I've ever had is telling me that I'm of value. I'm of worth. And that's not healthy for me, or this is healthy for me. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to break it down by saying, hey, when I keep these 3 commitments to my heart, to my conscience, I feel worthy and accepted. When I break them, I feel wrong and alone. And we're going to go in and we'll talk through those commitments. And really, this whole process always goes back to, if I'm not feeling what I want to be feeling, experiencing what I want to be experiencing, which experience is what we think, what we feel, and what we do. And we operate either from our head or our heart, having those experiences. I'm going to have a new experience. Every time I can take it through the process, I can have a new experience, now aligned with my conscience, experiencing it as if it happened from my heart the first time, and I'm healed. I can move forward. And the key is to keep these commitments. Anytime something's not working, my kids are struggling with something, I go back and like, hey, let's look at the 3 commitments. What's happening here? Let's get back to them, and we'll eventually get through those. But that's a quick summary of what we're going to go through. And amazingly, we have someone willing to be the person to take us through it. So thank you for jumping on and being with us.
Well, thank you for that summary. It's every time I enjoy listening to it, because each time I'm paying attention, I'm learning, and I'm taking it in because it is so helpful. And I'm going to admit, so again, I said this is my sister, my actual sister. I know I call everyone Pretty Sister, but this is my real sister, the one who nicknamed me Pretty when I was a young girl. And she, we showed up. We always do this. We show up in the same color.
We don't even have to talk to each other.
Without even
awesome.
any
We
coordination.
do that on so many levels, whether we're throwing a party, baby shower.
Yeah, we're just totally in sync.
Just are in sync.
But what's funny, I'll share with everybody, is I didn't invite her to do this for a while, and then ended up inviting her to do it. And the thought that kept running through my head is, you're already so good at this, that you already live by faith, and you let your conscience guide you, that it's like, what in the world is she going to process? But you know what? I realized, as we talked about it, and she was willing to do this still, is that, again, I don't want to, I think we all can learn. I guess that's my point here. We all have something that we can work on. And wherever you are on this spectrum of feeling like, oh, this is, I'm a mess, or life's a mess, and I really need this, because I've had moments in time where I felt like that. And then we have moments in time where everything's kind of going our way. And she's actually in a very happy place
moment
in life, where she's getting ready to go serve a mission in Italy, you guys, like on the Amalfi Coast, talking about like the most glamorous thing that you're about to do in life for 18 months, getting ready to go. So excited. So she's in a really great place in life. But I point that out because I still am curious to see what's going to come up. What are we going to talk about with somebody who's actually living in their heart right now in many ways? When we have the blessing of being in that position, it's wonderful. But I do think we can still use these tools, and we can still ask our conscience, what's going on? What am I feeling? And allow ourselves to be guided and taught.
Absolutely. I think this is the key to successful adulting. And as I head out to Italy in September, I'm going to be a young single adult specialist. And as we've been talking, one of the things that I was thinking about is, this is not my comfort zone. This is not my forte. Social media. I just finished a journey with cancer. I did not. I did not choose to live it on social media. It was a more of a private experience for me. So I now need to get back into this. I'm going to be a specialist, right? Yeah. So I need to have Instagram.
Yeah, so this is
I need to get out there. Who knows? Maybe I'll do a podcast. I don't know, but this is definitely an area where I'm not comfortable that I hadn't even thought about when you asked me to do this.
Yeah.
And I really did say no. Well, I said, isn't there someone better? And I will only do this for you because you're my sister.
Yeah.
But then as you were speaking, I thought, this is so good for me to hear.
Yeah.
And then all kinds of things that I could improve on ran through my mind.
Right. I think there's so many opportunities to learn and to grow if we will open ourselves up to them. And it's great that you brought the social media, because we were chatting before we went live that neither one of us are from the generation. I'm 50 years old. I'm
57,
This is not
we're vulnerable right now doing this.
Yes, this is not what we grew up on. This is what our kids do, but it's where everybody is. It's the place to share right now. So yeah, as you're going out to work with young single adults, this is their language. And
right.
So we're practicing. We're practicing.
Bring that from my head to my heart.
Yeah, and be open to change and open to a new way and a new thought. Because sometimes we think, and I'll do this myself, I'll think, I'm not good at that. I can't do that. That's just not how I do things. And you kind of block yourself, get in your head about it. Where I have to regularly just even do these lives, and to do what I'm doing right now, I've got to get out of my head into my heart, where I can move forward and push the button and go live and or make a post and not worry about what someone's thinking or what might happen, comments or not, or likes or not, or all of those things. And this isn't just plaguing us because we're not good at it, but this is a big problem for our youth today and our children, is how they feel about social media and what's going on in it. And so it's good for all of us to talk about and learn.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's get back on track.
Awesome. I love that. Love it. Okay, so here's the cool part. We can go anywhere with the process, right? It's really anywhere you want to progress. And sometimes, yes, it's focus on like, ooh, I've had this painful or traumatic, or I'm really feeling all this emotion around this painful thing. And sometimes it's like, I just need to figure out, I want this, but I'm not sure where to get it. So that's awesome. We can do any of that and all of that. So the question I would have for you is, just a little mentoring question. So while you're mentoring the youth, if you want to find out where someone is at, ask them this: hey, what are you experiencing? You're at a function. Hey, what do you experience? Hey, what's going on with your life? Hey, what are you experiencing? And if you have a connection, they might share the head side or the heart. Oh, I'm school's going really good. Well, what else are you experiencing? What's hard? What are the challenges you're facing? Like, what are you experiencing? You can bring those up, and then you can help mentor them through those experiences and teach them how to go from their head to their heart. And what you can do in a really simple way, just as simple as like, oh, how does that feel when that happens? What are you thinking when that happens? How does that feel? What do you normally do? What do you want to be thinking? What do you want to be feeling and doing if you're in your heart? So as we go through this, one of the things I'm getting is that you can use this tool with the youth that you're going to be connecting with, right? So that'll be awesome. And also, let's look at what do you want to experience while you're on your mission?
Okay.
While you're out there. Let's talk about the heart side. What does that look like? And then can break down like, okay, where can you see some progress to get that, have that vision be fulfilled? So what are you wanting to experience? And then what are you worried about won't maybe experience or won't happen? And even if you're very clear, like, oh, I want to work on this tool or skill or ability, or I'm in my head about this thing, about putting myself out, whatever it may be. So first question is, what do you want to experience out there? What's your vision?
My first worry is that I won't have enough time to cultivate the relationships and affect change in the lives of these young people. So I want to, luckily I speak fluent Italian, so does my husband, but I want to find them, meet them, love them, listen to them, help them, guide them, lift them, encourage them in whatever way. You want to go to school? Let's make a plan. You want to meet someone and, get married? I know people. You want to progress spiritually? You want to come back to church? You want to, you've felt alone. you're going through depression or anxiety. How can I help? And so I feel excited about that, but I feel great responsibility. This is something I've wanted to do for 34 years, since my husband and I were first engaged.
This is a true
So
dream come
this is
true
a dream come
moment.
true. And so, but I want to be relatable, right? I want to help them feel a sense of belonging if they're in, I want to help them in their process, because we're talking about members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who are in Italy. So help them along their path of conversion. And then I want to be a relevant source of, I don't know, comfort and connection, and to love them. So I do need to add this element of social media, and which I have not really needed in my life. And so that maybe that is a fear. And then I do want to add two other things that you can maybe coach me through. My husband just retired, and I feel like we've been running for 34 years. I have been so busy. I'm excited to be able to have more time to slow down and be purposeful in all the things that I do. I want to have a regular exercise program. I want to make sure that take time for mindfulness. I'm excited to be able to learn more and study. And so that is so appealing to me, to learn how to slow down.
It's funny because you're saying you want to have time to do all these things. It's like I can see the double-mindedness here, which happens for all of us.
Right.
So it's a great thing to coach you through, because you want to do so much and you're worried, like, I want to take this 18 months and give it all I have and can. But you're also at this phase of life of retirement, and you want to enjoy this experience, and you want to have fun for yourself and your husband too, who are retiring. So it's like they're a little bit
Now that you
competing.
say that, I'm like, yes, that is so true. And the other thing,
And take care of yourself because you're post-cancer.
that drives this is I have a second chance. And I am so aware that the miracle outcome that I've received is not the blessing that so many wonderful people receive. So I don't take that for granted and don't take it lightly, which is why my husband retired. I don't want more money. We have enough money. I want time. I want to be with him. I want to go out and do something meaningful. Not that what I've been doing hasn't been meaningful the past 34 years, but I'm excited for the newness of this fresh experience post-cancer. Together with him.
I can just say I can testify you've been doing meaningful things, very meaningful things for all of these years. If you're listening, you probably feel that. But yes, this is it's different dream.
It's a different dream. Right.
Yeah, and it's a new chapter, right?
It is a new chapter.
About a new chapter is, it doesn't mean the old chapter was bad, or like I wasn't excited about the old chapter, but it's like, I did that chapter. What's the next, right? And I'm sure there's still so much of what the old chapter that is going to be a part of your life, right? You still have, your family. All these things are still a part of your life. So, but this new chapter is something that's like, well, I haven't done this before. So what does that look like? So here's what I want to focus on, and we could go so many directions. This is so fun and exciting. I'm like, you say something like, we could go here. Like it's very exciting. But I'm going to pick an overall thing, which I think will be very helpful, which is, how do I use my conscience? Now, and I'm gonna use a little spiritual language too, because you're gonna go serve a mission.
Right. That's all about who I am. So thank you for that.
So I'm gonna use a little bit of language. If the language while you're watching resonates with you, awesome. If it's like, that's not my language, awesome, that's fine too. So use the head to heart base language if that helps. But our conscience is our inner compass. Now, a spiritual language would be the light of Christ. Sometimes we even say the spirit, all these different terms, but the light of Christ is really the best. But our conscience, that light within us, is going to guide us. So as you're opening this new chapter where there's so many new things, everything from, I'm in a new city, I'm in a new place. Me and my husband are doing two very new things. We're he's not working and I'm working here and we're working together. All these new things are happening. I am going to make sure that I am aligned with that light within me. And when I'm aligned with that light, I'm going to have the courage and confidence to know that what needs to happen will happen. Like, as long as I'm coming back to that, if I'm in my head, I'm worried about something, I'm going to do the work to get back to that, because then I have the confidence that maybe something happens where I meet a young adult and I really want them to have something happen and I can help make that happen. Or sometimes I can't, but I can just be there for them. And that's great too. Like, I don't have to worry about the outcome, like of what does it look like? And I need to make sure all these things happen. I can just focus on, I am aligned with that light, with my conscience. And when I am aligned, I can have the courage and I will move forward and things will move forward and I will be used to do what I need to do. And that relieves a lot of pressure, or I've got to make sure all these things happen, and I can be present. I can focus right here, right now. At the same time, if I'm not in the present, I need to work through some, things that are coming up, or it should look like this, or I got to look like this, or I got to be on social media. If maybe you do need to be social media a certain way, or maybe you don't, and you just need to be present. But the previous stuff can fade away. Possibility, it needs to look like this, and I can be present. So that's the overall thought I want to talk through. But what are you hearing as I'm sharing that?
Okay, so I'm so glad you asked, because as you were sharing that, I felt like I just wanted to close my eyes and just feel the peace. I felt the peace and the truth of that message. Like, that is right. That's what I can do. That is what I'm supposed to do. And it did not feel stressful or too much it felt enough.
Yeah.
It felt perfect.
It's interesting because I think it can be that easy to listen to our conscience and the light, and that we just get confused and off track with our, our head thoughts. But when we remember that, I don't have to worry, I can just let my conscience guide me and be at peace and get centered like that. It really is. And it's doable. It's simple. It's a simple thing that we just get so complicated in our head about. Yeah, but when you hear it, I felt the same.
Did you feel that peace?
Just like, that's easy. That's simplified, and that's easy. It's all we have to do.
Yeah, and especially in a mode where you're going, where it's like I need to be led to do my job, right? It's not even about about you and your husband.
Not my job.
Yeah, it's not even like, well, I've developed all these skills, so I can just figure all that. No, like, you are going to be led. Like, that is your whole thing. I will go where you want me to go. I'm going to do what you want me to do. I'm going to go there. But the only way to do that is to follow that light.
Right.
And the only way to really do what you're supposed to do. Now, you can accomplish a lot just by using you and your skills, and you and your husband work together and make awesome. That is awesome. But the real change that you're wanting to see and have for you and for the young adults will come when you are led by that light and you guide them to that light. That is where the change will happen. That is where the impact and all the other stuff might be great. You might support somebody, you might serve somebody, and all that is great, and that might help them. But the peace that you're looking for during this process, the peace that they are looking for, comes through getting present, going through that process. So the key is to recognize, okay, when I'm not feeling that peace, when I'm not feeling in the present, feeling that peace, I can recognize, and this is some language to use, to just have for yourself. So when you have language, you can explain it and understand it. And we're going to go through the language of it, as well as, like, this is the tool. So not only can I explain what's happening, but I have a physical tool that's like, now I'm here. I need to get here. I can use the tool. So in my head, when I talk about being in our head, we're talking about this back part of our brain that protects ourselves. Head is not bad. We need our head. It's what keeps us alive. It, makes our body keep living. Our heart, there's all kind of visualization of what that looks like. I'm in my heart. Our heart is actually like way more than just a beating, blood pumping thing. There's all kinds of communication and there's science all around it. But when I'm in my heart, you can understand what that feels like, right? It's all about progress, about about, recognizing how to move forward. One thing I want to mention about head is all about change. So you are going to find that anytime you need to change, your head will probably be popping up and saying, hey, change. It's part of the signal that lets us know, like, hey, you need to change to do something different. And when you're working with these youth, they're going to have head experiences. And when you can help them understand, oh, you're in your head, how wonderful. You're receiving a message to change, that there's something more for you, that what you've been doing is not all that you can do, that there's another level, that there's something else. You're not feeling peace. Well, perfect. You have this light within you that will show you how to actually, now that you know to change, your head's telling you to change, it'll guide you through that. And our heart is all about courage. So when we're having that courage, then we can move forward. The spiritual terms for that would be repentance, change, or faith, courage. Like I'm going to have the faith to repent. I'm going to have the courage to change. And if we do that, it's because we're aligned with that light. So recognize, okay, I am not, or someone is getting this message to change. My emotions are just messages. If you can make this shift for you and other people, where they know, hey, you're feeling some emotion. Wonderful. What is the message? Wow, you just got a message. What's it telling you? That's awesome. Like,
that
it doesn't.
Such a great thing for our audience to hear, and just remember that, because
emotions are messages.
They're messages, and that they're all good. I love that you bring that to the table, Johnny, because I think it's so important, because we start to feel, when we get those feelings of worry, fear, and anxiousness, that something's wrong, or even judgment. Yeah. And something might be wrong, because we've got to make a change. But that's the good news, is that you get to make a change, you get to make a choice, you can feel empowered, and this is how you do it. And so there's a way forward. There's always a way forward, and always a way to get back to that center of, following your conscience. Or for me in my life, the words I choose is that happiness. Like, that to me is my center, where I feel happy, because you feel like you're in that flow.
Right.
And I'd love to
peace.
Peace is another great word. I'd love to feel peace,
happiness.
But they're similar, and they're both great words. Right. Happiness is just one of those. Love it.
And I love that about you. That's what makes you my pretty sister.
Yeah. Yes. So
she's everyone's happiness. She's bottled up in pink. She's all our happy. And you asked her, my daughter.
Yeah, and that's
and I want everyone to be happy along with us and peaceful. Like, that's what we're going for. So I want you to know this. All right, where were we?
Yes. Well, happiness is that external, like, you can exudes from you. And peace is very more, even like a deeper, like, if you imagine, almost like I visualize it, like that peace is just like this very like internal, just deeply. And then when we're feeling that peace, you can be happy. Sometimes we need that peace, because there's really, craziness going around us. So it's like, oh, finally, like, I need some peace. But if you're just feeling that peace already, then, like, how do I get this out and share it with others? And, like, I want to be with other people with this peace. Yeah.
I love that. Thanks for saying that, Johnny, because that helps me to realize, okay, that happiness that I'm feeling, that I feel compelled to share, is layered on top of the peace that I'm feeling in my peace.
If you're not feeling that peace, it's hard to be really happy.
Yeah.
Right. You might be happy about something happens, like, oh, I'm happy I'm eating this delicious meal. Or great. Or like, I'm so happy to see that person. But the lasting, that kind of depth of happiness, because sometimes happiness can be very fleeting, or we use that word and it's very like you should just be happy. It's like, well, that's not the real happiness, or it really comes from like a depth of peace, and really I'm aligned with my conscience. And so it just who I am is coming out. I'm expressing myself and what I'm, who I'm being. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, and I guess that helps me understand why I'll often coach and tell people, or strive myself to get back and kind of fight for my happiness. That's me, my attempts to fight for that inner peace that I need to be happy. And sometimes it is out of line, or sometimes it is shaken up or affected by life situations. And then I've got to go seek that peace again, which I do have forms of doing. And then I can, find a way to be happy.
Which is more joy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, joy.
Than happiness that could be fleeting.
Right.
I think that peace brings you that deep joy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which makes you so pretty.
I love this. We're starting to understand ourselves better and why we do what we do.
Right.
This is great.
Totally. So, let me ask this. We've kind of moved on, so if nothing comes up, that's totally fine. But anything you want to share about what you're hearing about everything I shared? And this is a key. We're talking about youth and stuff like that. If you when you teach them something, or something's happening, the best thing to find out where they're at is, one, hey, what are you experiencing? And if you do teach them something, say, what'd you hear from that? Like, what are you
I
getting
love
from
that. What's
that?
the message?
Like, what'd you get? Then they teach you back, and you know if they got it or not. It's easy to be like, you teach all the stuff, and we think, oh, of course they understood that because, we have the same language, and we have the same beliefs core system about, our faith and all these things. And of course they understood. No, they don't. They haven't had, that one experience you've had that changed your whole life. And so, they haven't had that. So they need to teach you back and make sure understand what they heard. Now, we kind of moved on topic. So I'm saying, hey, what did you hear from that? Because I don't remember what we talked about either, because now we've moved to subjects a little bit. But if there is, what are you hearing, for anything you're hearing from this overall conversation, or something specific that's resonating that you want to share what you're hearing?
Well, I think the main thing, well, I'm glad I can rewatch this because I want to write it down. Or maybe you can send me an email with all of these words, because
I will. I have his worksheet that I'll make sure you have.
I'm thinking.
We'll give you the worksheet, because you can actually, to go through this process, there's a one-page sheet. There's some pages that explain it and everything, but there's a one-page sheet where you just go from the top. My experience is in my head, then you start expressing the head. In my heart, then you go through and you break down. I'm thinking this thought then brings this feeling, and I'm doing this from my head. Oh, it's that thought that triggers it. Oh, this feeling. So then you do a snapshot where you're like, oh, head side, heart side, this is what's going on. And then really then go back to your conscience and ask, hey, where do I go from here? From my heart. Okay. So you'll have that tool. So that's the tool I'm talking about, where you can just go, oh, I'm in my head, or where do I go from here? Oh, I'll just go to the bottom of the tool, which is all heart. Where do I go from here? What does this person need to hear? Or how can I change their life? Or what do they need? Whatever. So you just listen. Then from in your heart, you listen. Or sometimes it's I'm in my head, or sometimes I'm just in my heart. But you'll have that tool to just go back to. So.
And as I'm listening to that, what I feel in my heart is, I could do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to translate your page into Italian, and I'm going to be mindful and prayerful. I'm going to love these people, and I'm going to use the tool, and I'm going to teach them how to use the tool. So I feel like, even though I didn't want to come do this because it's not my thing, I feel like that was, I call it a divine signature. That there was something not for me to give, but for me to receive, right? So I came to support my sister, who I would do anything for her. But the reason I came was to receive this tool, because what my heart is wanting right now is to be prepared in every way possible, that I can hit the ground running and go out and make a difference in the lives of these young people who I worry about. It's hard for them. They feel, a lot of them come from difficult situations. Finances are not plentiful. I mean, they're challenging. Money is not plentiful. Jobs are not plentiful. The ability to move away from home or get married, it's not. Everything is difficult, and especially I'm going to be in the southern part of Italy. So I want to be a light to these young people, and I want to give them hope, and I want to teach them how to feel peace, or remind them how to feel peace.
Yes.
And help them see where the true source of joy is.
I love that in your
great mission preparation.
I love that your willingness to serve me, you receive.
I know.
And isn't that how it often works? That when we will get outside of ourselves and be willing to help somebody else, I find that we receive back so much more than what we were planning to give. That seems to be the pattern. And I love that you're getting something in return here.
In the terms of Pretty Sisters, it's this code that we live by, that our children have lived by, in the neighborhood we live by. So now she's bringing it to others who want to receive, who want to be pretty sisters, right?
Yes. Well, and the message is you're all pretty sisters, but maybe you don't know the language and the code and just all of the heart and love that comes through being in this sisterhood. And that's what we want to
So
show and
today
share.
we've seen some pretty sister magic.
Yes, the magic
The
that
magic
comes together.
The magic of the peace and the joy and the teacher.
Yes.
I love that. I love what you said there. So, and this is cool because this call went, and that's what kind of, as we started this call, I'm like, ooh, I think this call is going to go not only on the, so there's kind of 3 levels of this process. There's me, can I go from my head to my heart? There's mentor, can I mentor someone from their head to their heart? And messenger. And I was excited when we started the call. I'm like, ooh, I think we're going to dive in the mentor and messenger zone. That'd be kind of fun, dive in. And that's what I love. I love that you're like, oh, I'm going to translate this. And the translation is, yes, the language, but the number one translation is you translate this language and tool into, I've been doing this process, and now I have a language and tool so that I can translate my life experience of being able to feel like a pretty sister and feel like I can be of worth and accept my best and all these different things. And I'm going to translate it and so that someone else can hear it and understand it. Mm-hmm. So they can be like, oh, I get it. Oh, I've misunderstood. I've had this thought my whole life that I'm not, let's go pretty sister. I'm not pretty. I'm not this. My nose is blank or whatever, or like, oh, nobody is attracted to my personality, whatever it is, like, right. And how do you help them get present to, you've had a thought that's unhealthy and let's choose a new experience, right? So I love that you're going to translate it. And the way you do that is by you taking this process, and I love what you said, like, I could do this. Like you're going to take the sheet and you're going to have a one-on-one mentoring question with your conscience. A session. Did I say question? You will have some questions, but you'll have a session.
I get it. I hear you.
You'll have a session.
I'm going to do it.
Session, not with me. I'm mentoring you on how to do the process, but the real mentoring, the whole process is not about like, yes, I can take you through the process, but really every time I'm just like, hey, I'm pointing you back to your conscience, that light, the light of Christ. I'm pointing you back and saying, you two need to really work this out. I don't know your life experience. I don't know what's happened previously. I'm not your head or heart, but I can point you in the direction. And so you're going to have this process of over and over being like, I wonder why I'm in my head about this. Oh, this is why. This is the experience that happened. Here's what I need to do next. Or wonder what this person, what can I share with this person? Oh, I could share this, and this. I could make sure that they understand this. Oh, I wonder if they're not understanding this part about their conscience or their head or heart or whatever it is, right? So what's cool is you'll translate this to yourself, doing the meat, like really going through and making sure you know the process.
Right.
That you can take your whole life experience of going through this process, of taking your kids through this process of like, it's not like you've never done this or it's like, oh, this is some brand new thing. It's like, no, I just have a language and a tool to where I can laser focus it, especially when you're working with your kids. You're like, I have this long time frame and, and over the course of a year, they're going to work through something. Like I'm connecting with the youth. They have this experience where they do not feel of worth. They feel something's wrong with them. I don't have a full year of mothering and in my home to take them through that. I need to help them know the truth.
Time before I even leave.
Right. I need them to know right now, hey, what are you experiencing? I'm experiencing this. Okay. What are some of your thoughts? Okay. You think this. How does that feel? Okay. So what do you normally do? This is the snapshot in my head, in their head. You sometimes you can say in your head or they don't know. They're just like, oh, this is what I'm experiencing. You're like, okay, that thought is unhealthy. Can you see how, and we haven't even got into this yet, that thought is not respectful, that is not accepting your best. Right. And let's get present and you take them to your heart. So you'll have the ability to take them straight to the root. And I'm constantly amazed how, like, sometimes I even forget, like, oh, I need to take people through this process really quickly. Yesterday, with 3, and I'd say almost a half of my kids, my 3 oldest, we went directly through this process. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we live in a happy home, all these things. And there's some head stuff that if I didn't bring up these specific and really dive down, it would have just been like, of course they're doing okay. These are happy, healthy, successful kids, nothing. And then I'm like, oh, if I didn't dive down, I would have known that this kid had this thought. I would never imagine they would have that thought. Why would they have that thought? But I had that ability to dive through. What were you, did you have
That's what
something
I
to share?
need. That's what
Yeah.
I need because I've been thinking, can I be a better listener? How can I help them? And you've shown me what I need to do. I'm so grateful.
So I want to just summarize for people because there's a couple key things I want to make sure you're getting, and that is in that Johnny's talked about. So we've talked about the thoughts that are coming to our head, and we want to get, process those and get into our heart, and we want to pay attention and write this down to what you're thinking, feeling, and doing. You have a thought, it causes you to feel a certain way, and then it causes that action of do. So think, feel, do. This is what I love about Johnny and why I've brought him here is he's simplified it into this easy language. We're going from our head to our heart. So memorize that, head to heart, and we're paying attention to what you think, feel, do. Now, the other three things that we haven't quite dived into yet, but I want to make sure you know and
Yes, and I
everybody
want you to
knows.
cover this, Callie. You go deep on this. Like really dive in.
Okay.
You're gonna go through the
Yeah.
commitments, right?
Are the
Yeah, go
three?
like really take your time and dive in. That would be awesome right
Okay,
now.
because I want you to know the three commitments. So head to heart, think, feel, do as you're going through the pattern, but you're helping people to keep the three commitments. And the first commitment is to be respectful to yourself.
Oh,
All right, that's
that.
commitment
I love
number
that.
one.
I believe that
Because
wholeheartedly.
as you're pulling out these thoughts, the question is, well, is that respectful? And you want to help them to keep the commitment to be respectful to yourself. And what comes with that, and there's always a flip side to it, is you have to be respectful to yourself, but you also need to be respectful to others.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's respectful to yourself.
RSPCT. I'm a
Right.
fan of that.
RESPCT. We love that song.
So
Okay. The second.
let's hear an example of that, Callie. I'd love to hear like in this context. What do you what would a thought that's disrespectful? Because sometimes we get into respect and we're like, of course I'm respectful. But
Well, you brought it up, and
yeah.
we have talked about this offline, Johnny and I, because we want to tackle this. And I think a lot of women have this thought that's not respectful, is thinking that they're not pretty.
Mm.
And probably this pretty sister concept might rub people wrong because they're thinking, oh, well, I'm not pretty and you're pretty, and therefore I'm not part of this. And that's not true. That's not respectful. We're all pretty. And it's just redefining what pretty, that word, means to you. And to us, it has so much more meaning than the outward appearance. It's about love and kindness and sisterhood. It's just this all-encompassing word to us that we want to expand upon. So, Johnny and I in the future might be bringing some more, opportunities for you to go deeper on this very concept, because so many women are not respectful to themselves because they're picking apart their looks. And you don't need to do that, because you need to, or we invite you to love yourself and to love yourself completely and to fall in love with who you are and recognize that who you are is wonderful and beautiful, and anything outside of thinking that is not being respectful to yourself.
I
right?
love that. That's a gift. That's a gift that you can give to anyone who goes through that process.
And I know it's real. I mean, I go through it myself. I don't always feel pretty. I don't think any of us always feel extremely pretty.
Getting older and have lines.
Yes.
I'm having to redefine.
Right, all the things we do to help us age gracefully. But my daughters go through that, and they're beautiful girls, the way I see them and the way that they see themselves most of the time. But they're teenage girls, or some are older, but they, I've had to coach them through that constantly of how they feel about themselves, their external and internal feelings. So anyway, that I think is one of the top things that we as women do, is we don't, we'll criticize the way we look and not feel good enough in that way. And it's just not respectful. I mean, a thought that came up today that wouldn't have been respectful that Martha brought up is just feeling like she doesn't have enough time. That's not being respectful to yourself, because you have the same amount of time that everybody has. We all,
Right.
The time is just our great equalizer, and we're in control of it. So we always get to choose what we're doing with our time. So when you trust that you have just enough time to do everything that you need to do, it feels so much better. And that's more respectful to yourself.
That's feeling good to me.
Yeah. But you've been given.
Last night,
all the
I
time
couldn't
in the world.
sleep because I was feeling only have 2 months to get everything ready to with my family, with finances, and then with myself personally, and then how to fit all of my clothes and shoes and things for every season into 18 months.
Yeah, I'll give you a secret weapon, and that's Emma. You should have Emma come over. I have a daughter getting ready to serve a mission next week, and Emma Juno came over.
Is she good at that?
Oh my goodness. Talk about a pretty sister activity or service moment. She came and helped Sophie sort through all of her clothes and try everything on and pack her suitcase. And what a gift, because Sophie was feeling like she didn't have enough time. But I tell you, when you just have faith and trust and allow people to help you, I mean, Emma came on Saturday, spent the whole day with her, and now Sophie's ready.
Well, she's feeling better.
So you need
Prime Day is helping me because I found some condensed packing cubes this morning that I ordered.
Yeah, that's helpful. Well,
And so this is a good example. Sorry, Cal, you want to finish that?
Well, just let people help you guys. You know, when you feel stuck. I mean, people, Emma shows up to serve Sophie.
I came
whether
to serve
it's Emma or somebody else.
Served.
When you trust that everything's going to work out for you, the right people do show up to help you, because we all have different strengths. And this was a strength of Emma's, to come organize Sophie to pack. It wasn't necessarily mine. Okay, what were you going to say, Johnny?
Well, I was just going to say, I love this example because it's sometimes when we think of respect, we think of, I'd be laying there at night and saying, I'm such a loser. I'm going to fail. This is terrible. No, it doesn't have to be that. It can be like, oh, what if I can't do this like I need to? It's not like terrible, but like we're not being respectful to ourselves or to others, and so it can be very slight, which moves us on. And let's kind of continue this very specific example with the your best, because this is actually the one that is probably even more tangent to what we're talking about with it, just like worrying about all these different things and I got to get all this done, gets us to our next commitment, which is to
our second commitment is to be your best. And that, when I say that, I can do that. It feels freeing, because we hold so many expectations on ourselves, I think, to be perfect or to do things right. But when we realize, no, all we have to do is our best. That's all we have to do. I'm telling my kids that all the time. Just give it your best, whether it's grades or whatever we're talking about. Was that your best? Well, that was the best. Well, then that's good enough. The grade, let it be what it's going to be, because all you have to do is your best. And when you feel that and understand that, it takes a load off. On your mission, you just have to give your best, and your best is accepted, and you can give your best. And the flip side of that is we have to accept the best from others. And that, to me,
meet them where they are.
Yes, is so freeing too, because we are let down when people don't meet when we aren't meeting our own expectations, or when we have expectations of others, it can let us down. It can get us out of sync. And when we can start to accept their best as well, it's very freeing, because then you start to realize, I think that taps into the empathy that we need more for others, when we start to understand, oh, they may not have this teaching or training, and you mentioned that over in Italy, people maybe don't have all of the things that we have here, or that you've been, experiencing. Here. But when you accept their best, and realize that it's good enough, and meet them where they're at, that's going to help you as you're doing your training and coaching over there. So it's the first commitment is being respectful, being our best, and the third is being present. And this is, I keep saying each one's my favorite, but I love them all.
I love them all too.
real quick.
Everything you
Okay, interject.
No, go. You share what you're going to say, Martha.
Oh, everything you say, everything she said just resonate. They center me, and I'm feeling peaceful. Okay.
Good. So I want to point out, I'm going to just one point of this before we move on to the present. So I'm going to say all the commitments over one more time, and then get key why. So some language, that when you're not keeping them. Okay. So being respectful to myself and others, right? Myself and others. Okay. When I am respectful to myself and others, I feel of worth, and I'm treating them as if they are of worth. They are worthy of respect. So when I'm not being respectful, I'm not treating myself like I'm of worth. That's why it doesn't feel good, because that's wrong to not be respectful of somebody. So it feels wrong when I'm not being respectful. That's it. Whether it be myself or someone else, it feels wrong because it is. It doesn't feel wrong because I'm not of worth. It actually, that wrong feeling is saying the opposite. Say, hey, you're worthy. They're worthy of respect. Stop doing what you're doing. So number one. Second commitment, being my best, to be my best, accept my best, and the best of others. So this was Kelly's talking about, it like accepting not only my best and their best. And sometimes my best is terrible, sometimes it's great. but I'm accepting it. And it's that contradiction. It's not the contradiction. It's the both sides, right? I'm being my best, but I'm also accepting whatever that looks like. And if I do that, I feel accepted. If you do not feel worthy or accepted, doesn't matter if it's like, I don't feel accepted by this person, I don't feel worth it, whatever it is. If you don't feel worthy, accepted, it's just because you are not keeping the commitments. That's it. It is completely up to me to choose whether I keep the commitments, regardless of what people do to me. Now, if someone is super disrespectful, in that moment, I'll tell you what I feel. I'll feel angry and frustrated, and I will be in my head. Totally normal. So I'm not going to feel worthy accepted when someone's disrespectful to me. Especially if I know them. Like I texted someone on accident yesterday, or I texted someone that I thought it was their number on yesterday, and their reply was very brash. It's like, boom! I'm like, oh, this is not that person. But I didn't feel in my head about it because I'm like, oh, I don't know this person. That's weird that they did that. But if it's someone I'm connected to or close to, I get in my head, I feel wrong and alone, which is the opposite of worthy and accepted. And it's because I'm not being respectful, being my best. So to recognize, if I'm not feeling worthy accepted, I'm in my head and I can choose something different. So before we move on to that, what are you hearing from that?
Well, I love the agency part, right? It's a choice. I always feel that happiness is a choice. Whenever I go to a wedding, I sign, choose your love your choice. So we have the agency to make that change, and I can see how I can make. I'm just going through different scenarios and relationships, and I can see, how I've reacted and how I could have reacted better. So I'm going to be better because I'm going with these tools. That's what's going on in my head.
Nice.
Well, and I love this because it's so empowering. It's opposite of being a victim to other people. When you realize, oh, how I feel is up to me. And the response that I'm going to choose to whatever situation I'm in, and then of what's happening to me, I can choose that response, and I can accept people's best, and I can be my best, and I can be respectful. Right. All of those feelings we have a choice over. So we don't have to be victim to the things going on around us. And I love that because
you're very good at
very
that.
empowering.
You're better at that than I am.
Well, I don't know about that, but maybe
you're very good at that.
Some practice at it, probably because I've known these tools longer, and now you're going to know them going into your mission. I'm sharing.
Thank you. Very pretty sister.
Trying to share with everybody these great tools that Johnny has brought to me.
Yeah.
Both. Yes, very kind. So I love that because we always want to be in choice. We want to be empowered to be in control of our feelings, in control of our happiness, in control of our peace, and we get to do that with this model. And I'll just say it's not always easy when you're feeling those strong emotions, when you've been wronged, when someone's angered you or frustrated you. So being empowered and being able to step back and go through this process, I think it's very important. It's very helpful. Which brings us to the third.
One more. I'm going to add on that. I got to add on because it's so good. It's so good. I know we got to keep going, but I just want to be very clear, especially everybody who's watching this. If you've had really traumatic or painful real experiences, they are real, and what has happened to you is disrespectful. If someone is not being their best, they're being terrible to you. They're being so disrespectful. It feels horrible because what they did to you is horrible. Right. That is why. It's not because you're horrible. It's not because you're less than, worthless, any of that. It's because what they did is disrespectful. And you are of such worth that anything that doesn't align with you feeling worthy, peaceful, all those things, it doesn't feel right because it's not for you. So if you've had experiences, real deep traumatic experiences, it could be like, it could be something so simple, but it was traumatic to you, or it could be something that all of us would recognize like, oh, that is terrible, disrespectful, vile. Doesn't matter the range of that. But if you don't feel worthy and accepted because of that experience, the way to go through this process is to say, you know what? I'm going to explore what happened to me, and I'm going to feel all the head emotions. I'm going to get all them out. Like I've been thought poisoned, right? So if I had been poisoned, I would get it all out. And then once it's all out, I can feel all those emotions. I'm going to express all those emotions. And sometimes we're actually pretty good at this, right? Like, I'm so angry at that person. We feel all the emotion. We feel a moment of like, oh, I feel a little bit better. But then we feed ourselves, oh, and then we remember what they did to us. Versus feel it all, get it all out. And then you got to change how you think and how you feel and what you do about that experience. I no longer have this thought of like, they ruined my life. The new thought is, what they did to me was so disrespectful. That is horrible. I never want to do that to anybody else. And this painful emotion is telling me that what they did is disrespectful. It's actually telling me that I'm of worth, that I'm of such value that is not for me. And I feel confident. I feel empowered. So what I'm going to do is blank. And you do that enough to where that experience no longer means what you thought it meant. It doesn't mean you're worthless or anything. It means you're worthy. So
Yes.
if you're experiencing this, you have to go all the way through it, though. I wish there was a simple way. I wish I could just teach you like, oh, just let go of it and forget. No, you have to feel all the emotions, express it, get it out, and then go to your heart. So if you're in that mode right now where you're like, but you don't know what's happened to me. This is so deep. Like I don't want anyone to think, oh, it's just so simple. You can just choose to go to your heart. No, like you can, but you have to go through this refining, expressive, work through it, then to be healed. And your conscience will do that healing, but you have to do your part of releasing and letting go of what is unhealthy. So
I'm glad you bring that up, because sometimes I feel like because I like to present as happy and be happy, that people might feel like I don't understand, or maybe that I haven't gone through hard things. But that's not the case. I have gone through hard things. I do respect the hard things that everyone else is going through. And I do want people to understand that too. And it's just I am super grateful that I've had these techniques as I have gone through hard things to be able to help me to get back to that happy state. And it does take
a witness of that.
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah.
And it takes that refiner's fire. And I can now, having gone through some hard things, even in the past several years, I can be grateful for those experiences because of the gifts and the tools, or the things that I've learned, or the deep worthiness that I've had to attach to and recognize having gone through that. So I guess I honor any of you who are going through these things. The pen pondering that Johnny teaches, I've done a lot of that, where you can't not feel the emotion that comes from challenges. And so you just have to write it all out as a great tool. Or if you have the gift of a very, wonderful sister or confidant or coach that you can talk to, counselor, therapist, whatnot, it is necessary to feel all of that emotion, but to not keep refeeling it. I think that's the thing that we get stuck in doing, and that leads us really well into our third commitment, because we like to ruminate and to go back to it, and that's the part that's not necessary. And that's the third commitment, is getting present and staying present. So you're committing to be present. And what happens is we want to go back to the past, and we want to rehash things and experiences. And when we do that, we're not being respectful to ourselves. We're not being our best, because we're living in the past, and we're re-torturing ourselves of rethinking about that terrible thing that happened to us. We need to let that go and honor and recognize the gifts that come to us from those experiences. We learn from the past, but we don't stay stuck in the past. And then on the flip side is we'll have a tendency this is where I think a lot of the stress and anxiety that plague our youth,
which is a real issue. And I want to help with that.
You want to help with that. And
I'm learning how.
The part that they're doing is they're going to the present, and they're worrying and being fearful of what is going to happen in the present.
And it's so easy
to in the future.
Right. It's so easy to do.
Ability of all the things that aren't going to work, and what is it going to look like?
Yeah.
And when you things.
Yeah, and there are hard things, but if you stay stuck worrying about that, then you're in the future and you're not being present. Right. Because we only have control of the present. That's where life's happening. That's where our feelings are that we can work with and manage. So we need to let go of the past and appreciate the gifts from them. We need to trust and have faith in our future. And sure, there's things we can do to visualize and to set goals, and there's positive things that we can do with our future thoughts, but we want to do that. We want to get really present to where we are right now. So that's the third commitment, is being present. Isn't that wonderful?
I love it all.
To review, we're being respectful, we're being our best, we're being present. Those three things. So this is a great pattern to remember, you guys. It's simple. We're moving from our head to our heart. as we do that, we're looking at what we think, what we feel, what we do, and we're working through being respectful, being our best, being present. Isn't this easy? Simple?
It is. It's a simple
and it's
complexity.
so much to it.
Right, because it's very complex and it's very hard, but it can be simple. It can be done. It can be done.
Yeah.
Yes. And it should be done. And I'm going to do it.
Good. I love that. I love that. So, yeah. And I think it's important to recognize being present is just trying again.
Yeah.
Every time you're in your head, you're like, I've committed to go from my head to my heart, to be present when I'm not choosing these to be respectful or be my best. It's like, that's it. It's like, it's just try again. It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to get present to what I'm experiencing. And talking about, I love that you talk about how simple it is. And I love hearing you describe it. So, and it is really simple. And that's what I've really tried. How does it so simple so that you can implement it, right? And when you recognize, and even visually, like, okay, what am I experiencing? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? Then what am I physically doing? What am I doing? Okay, great. That. Oh, I'm in my head right now. Oh, I'm in my heart right now. So just to recognize it, but to get present when it's not. And all of this is the way, the three B's: be respectful, be your best, be present. They're ways of being. Mm-hmm. If you want to change everything, change who you're being. Like, that's the key. It's a way of being. It's not it's not just a strategy or tool, all that. It's a way of being. When I'm being these things, everything else is aligned because I'm aligned with my conscience. I'm aligned with my compass. So I know I'm pointing in the right direction. I know I'm moving forward. And if I keep doing my best, I'll keep moving in that direction. And if the compass gets off and I'm not aligned with my conscience, my compass, then you know what? I'm going to be present. And so anyway, so whenever you're saying, what should I do here? I'm always like, okay, I go back to these things, and then it always goes back to the framework. Always goes back to this process, because I know the way to move forward is by changing who I'm being. And when I'm changing that, then I feel worthy accepted. And when I feel worthy accepted, they all just intermingle. So yes, I love it. Love that.
It feels good. It feels good. It feels like truth that will work.
Absolutely. It will work, and it's going to be a wonderful gift to you.
Thank you for your help.
For sure.
Yes, thank you so much. The time goes by so fast, but we are out of time, and I appreciate you, Johnny, coming on to coach and to teach and to care enough about all of our Pretty Sister community that we want to give these tools and offer up your expertise. So thank you so much for your time in doing that. Thank you, Martha, for being vulnerable.
Thank you.
For being willing to be coached live on Instagram.
Well, you're both so good at this. I feel like we've just been chatting. In fact, yes. I had to realize, other people are going to watch this.
And that's great. Other people are hopefully going to join in and learn. And thank you to those who did join us today. Appreciate you being here. And hopefully this has helped you. Or if there's somebody else that you're thinking of that you would love to learn these tools and techniques, please share it with them, tag them, and let's spread this positivity and these great, wonderful tools to all of our pretty sisters who deserve to feel loved, to feel worthy, feel good enough, because you're beautiful. And that's our message to you, is that we love you and we're glad you're here, and hope that you have a wonderful day and stay pretty. And we will see you next week. Thank you so much.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.